Don't look now, but the NBA trade deadline is just 20 days away, and we are about to hit ludicrous speed. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Brewski, and FSWA Hall of Famer Steve, Dr. A. Alexander. It's Friday. That means it's time to go all the way around the league with Doc. If I could freaking talk this morning. And before we do that, let's say hello to the sponsor. Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. The largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. Bet Online is your number one sports betting source for the new year, from touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks. BetOnline has you covered every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Before we get started, I want to say big congratulations to Mike Clay of ESPN and Rick Wolf of Too Many Different Endeavors to Name. But he was involved with Roto-World and NBC early on. I think I've bumped into Rick a couple of times in the FSGA. But congrats to these guys and really these guys in the industry who have paved the way for everybody to have jobs. I think it's very important that we pay respects. And speaking of FSWA Hall of Famers, Doc, how are you doing, sir?
I've never been better, Bru.
Never been better. Were you dancing to start the show? What was that move?
What move is?
There we go. There we go. How you doing? It's been a week. I haven't seen you.
Well, I'm good.
You good? All right.
I have lots of stories, but they're all too long. I got a 3 o'clock tea.
3 o'clock tea time at Johnny B's.
Golden tea machine.
For some golden tea. You're gonna go hustle some
machine.
poor schmuck's gonna get hustled for a burrito.
Here's the
I can
great
see it
thing
in
about
their future.
It's a new golden tea machine at the new restaurant where the pizza's named the Doc. And so, dude put his golden tea machine in there, but he's got it on level, the easiest level, like rookie level. It's not, you can't log in and get online. So it's the most basic form of golden tea there is right now. And I'm just killing it, bro.
You just killed it? You just killed it? You're putting on a show for everybody. Well, let's put on a show for everybody here.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. No, we'll talk some golden tea along the way. Today we're gonna be talking some Nick Richards, traded to the Suns. Dante DiVincenzo hurt. It's been a weird week. Like I thought everything was cruising, early January, kind of everybody's got their foot on the gas and things are somewhat normal. And you're kind of getting these box scores they were voluminous and it felt like most people were healthy. Now people are getting injured, trade deadlines right around the corner. Teams are doing weird things. So we got all sorts of stuff going on. Dante DiVincenzo hit the injury report. Karl Anthony Towns popped up with a thumb injury. Nikola Jokic with a sprained right elbow. You got Mark Williams going off. Keon Ellis got hit with an ankle injury last night. Guys like Kawhi Leonard back, working their way back. Amon Thompson, Jalen Green going nuclear. Joel Embiid, this morning, 7 to 10 days there. So we got a lot to cover, and away we go. Let's start with some boring games. Let's just get them out of the way. We got Orlando at Boston. Boston 12.5-point favorites. Jalen Suggs getting closer, but not quite back, I don't think. Franz Wagner getting closer, probably about a week or so. Goga Bitadze, hip and concussion, the old 2-for-1 there. I'm actually fine with it. He just needs some rest. He wasn't walking well when he walked off the court the other day with that hip issue. Don't know how he got the concussion, but he did. And then Boston, everybody's good to go. So what you watching for in this game?
Peyton Pritchard. He's still the favorite. I think he's minus 130 last I saw to win the 6th Man of the Year award. But in January, he scored 9 or fewer points in 4 of 5 games in a row. And then his last 2, he had 11 and 20. But he just hadn't been shooting it that well. Like one game, he'll hit 8 out of 10 shots. And the next game, he'll go 0 for 8. So he's just kind of been all over the place. If January ended today, he'd be shooting 44% for the month. That would be his lowest shooting of any month this season. So he's just in a slump. I think he's gonna come on down the stretch. I think Boston's gonna start resting guys. I just think now is a good time to try to buy low on Pritchard.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Most of my takes, I mean, I could tell you some streamer options: Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter, maybe even Tristan Da Silva, though he's been a little quiet lately. I'm wondering, Boston, 12.5 point favorites. They've been struggling lately, and Orlando coming in wounded. Does Boston have another letdown game in them? And they don't really have anybody to cover Paolo Banchero and Jason Tatum, maybe Al Horford, maybe. So does Banchero come in and actually, turn the screws against Boston? And does Orlando have a shot at covering a big number here? We got Minnesota at New York. New York -4.5. This is another game bigger in reality than in fantasy. Minnesota, the vibes are terrible. That's probably underselling it. Dante DiVincenzo out with a big toe sprain. AJ Mitchell, I believe, just got ruled out for a couple months with a big toe sprain. That's not great. I guess if the injury news comes back, you got the stones to buy low on a guy who's been a 5th or 6th rounder over the last month in Dante DiVincenzo, Doc?
Oh, absolutely, dude. He's balled out in his last 2 games. I think without the injury, I think he's one of the hottest. He might be my hottest pickup in hoops right now. He's starting at point guard. He scored 25 plus in 2 of his last 3. The rebounds are there. The assists are there. The triples are there. What's he ranked for like the last 2 weeks? Do you know?
Like 50, 60.
Yeah. And it's as I said in my column for ESPN today, he's only scratched the surface on his fantasy value for this year. I mean, in my mind, Dante's season starts now. But
that's
now
amazing.
This toe thing, now I don't know. I mean, I just pray it's 1 game and not long.
Yeah, I guess if news comes back and it's like whatever, something like AJ Mitchell was going through, many weeks or a month or 2, then obviously all bets are off, and maybe folks should wait till they get the injury news here and not just full on gamble with whatever's happening here. But I think people are going to be pretty soft with DiVincenzo. You could probably get DiVincenzo for a top 75, maybe even a top 100 player right now. And you're right. All of the answers in Minnesota run through Dante DiVincenzo. Question: do you have the same encouraging outlook on somebody like Naz Reid?
Yeah, I like Naz Reid. Naz Reid is quietly, dude. There are so many guys on rosters that are not as good as Naz Reid, even just straight up fantasy stats. Yeah, I think Naz Reid's good to go. Especially given how bad Rudy Gobert is, right? Like
that doesn't get enough pub, and I know a lot of folks do talk about it, but that doesn't fit in like 5 different ways. Rudy Gobert, and he's not that good defensively, and it mucks it up everywhere else. But I think we've covered that. I don't know if everybody else is caught up to it, but we've covered that. Karl-Anthony Towns, questionable. How concerned are you about that thumb? Or knee?
I'm with Rick. You gotta miss 2 games in a row before I worry about it.
Yeah, OJ Anunoby. And we got an old Anunoby reference there. Top 200 last 12 games. I did a half version. I haven't had enough coffee today. I'm back to the old days. But top 200 last 12 games. Basically, all the numbers are down. Are you concerned about him?
No. If you look at his game log this season, it's been blah, 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 boom, boom, spike, and then blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's like a mutual fund. You don't want to look at it every day. You just want to look at it once a year and see how you're doing. You're probably making money.
That's sound financial advice.
Going to go up and down every day.
Most excellent.
Toronto. I just think he comes and goes. He runs hot and cold.
Yeah. I would be concerned maybe about the elbow. Maybe that's an issue, but really nothing else adds up other than just like a garden variety slump. Toronto at Milwaukee. Milwaukee 11-point favorites in this one. Emmanuel quickly out again. For Milwaukee, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Gary Trent, all probable. Andre Jackson Jr. questionable. What are you looking for in this game?
Where is Emmanuel Quickly, man? What a lost season for that dude.
Mm.
I don't get it. Like, where is
Well,
he?
it seems like he's legitimately hurt, but are they being super safe with him? It doesn't feel like it when you got Scotty Barnes saying he's playing through injury, and they're good with him being out there. He's more impactful, Scotty Barnes probably, than Emmanuel Quickly.
And
So he's
we
just
say this
hurt.
every week. The Raptors just got a big win over somebody. Didn't they beat the Celtics?
Boston. Yeah, Boston.
Yeah.
They needed
They're
that.
1-18 on the. They're 1-18 on the road. They have 10 wins on the season. They're still not going anywhere. I feel like Scotty Barnes is still a ticking time bomb. I really don't trust many players in Toronto.
Yeah, other than Barnes and Pirtle, everybody's been playing way below the cut line. That's Grady Dick. Ochai Abaji's been way off the radar for over a month now. Chris Boucher's been getting attention, actually, not just in fantasy, but on the trade market. Bouncing around mid to late round value over the last week or three. How do you feel about Chris Boucher? Do you think folks should take a flyer there?
I was taking flyers on Chris Boucher, and then Andre piped in one day and said they're pulling him out of the rotation, and he was right. I don't think he played the next game, and he played very limited minutes after that, and I just sort of stopped paying attention. Maybe I need to get back on Boucher watch because I love me some Chris Boucher.
It's funny. It feels like all the times we all wanted Chris Boucher to happen, this might be the one where there's no real hype behind Chris Boucher. If he gets traded, that changes everything because then obviously he's in a different place and he doesn't have the possible run of the yard. If they go full Boucher in Toronto to lose games, that could get to be pretty interesting. It could be mid-round Chris Boucher in March and April, and you could be talking about Chris Boucher helping fantasy GMs winning playoff games or playoffs. It's kind of wild, but it's just kind of crazy enough to work. On the Milwaukee side, Bobby Portis finally cooling off. Brook Lopez hasn't really gone off. I kind of feel like there's a spot to do a buy low offer for Brook Lopez. All right, before we get into some of the more interesting action, if you guys are enjoying the live show and you're watching on YouTube, drop a thumbs up on this video, and that would help us out a ton. If you're tuning in on Twitter, give us a follow at Ethos Fantasy NBA. And if you're listening on the pod feed, please, if you enjoy the show, give us a 5-star review. Thank you very much. Let's get into Denver at Miami.
Real quick on Boucher. So on January 1st, he played 5 minutes. And then that was the day Andre's like, they're pulling him out of the rotation. He's done. And then the next game, I don't think he even played. He may not have played in 2 games in a row. And then on January 8th, he played 4 minutes. And I was like, that's it. I'm out of the Boucher game. And then as soon as I stopped looking, played 20 minutes a game and balling out. So good job, Chris Boucher. 32-year-old Chris Boucher.
32-year-old, 5th year in the league? Chris Boucher. And you know what? Buddy Hield. Kind of the same deal. And the minute I stopped looking at Buddy Hield the other day, he's had a three-game top 75 run, which we'll talk about later. This Denver-Miami game, it's really interesting for a couple different reasons. On the Denver side, Nikola Jokic, questionable right elbow sprain. When the best, actually, I don't know if I can say that anymore, but the best player in fantasy hoops gets a right shooting elbow sprain, and sort of it comes out of nowhere, we all got to kind of take notice. Aaron Gordon questionable with his calf injury, and Jamal Murray probable. So it feels like we would know who would be the beneficiaries in Denver. But then on the other side of the line, you got Miami with Jimmy Butler theoretically in the mix. So what are you watching for in this game?
Well, I mean, Jokic goes out and DeAndre Jordan comes in. Like, there's no replacement for Jokic. It just means everybody else is going to get more touches, Murray especially. If Gordon's out, Peyton Watson obviously becomes a thing. Michael Porter Jr. becomes more of a thing. Also with Jokic out, Porter Jr. Looks a little better. And of course, Russell Westbrook. If Jokic is out, Russell Westbrook is a must start but he basically is anyway already. So the Heat side, supposedly Jimmy Butler's gonna play tonight, right? But I mean, I posted a quote on Twitter today. Like, one guy said, I don't see how he can come back to this locker room. And the other guy said, we don't want him here. And I don't know how that's going to work. I know Pat Riley doesn't want him there. His teammates don't want him there. Like, how is this going to work? I don't know. This is going to be fascinating to see.
So another quote from an article. I would source this crap, but honestly, it's all crap, right? Like it doesn't matter. I love that analysis. But something along the lines of like, you haven't seen anything yet with Jimmy Butler. Like he's got levels to this, that he can keep getting more and more annoying and more problematic. And it's like the pissing match between he and Pat Riley. That's actually worth the price of admission right now. It really is. Awesome. I mean, the game's tonight. We'll probably get news here on the show that he's probably playing or something. And then if he plays, it would be very Jimmy Butler to go for 45 points. This is a Ramona Shelburne article. Okay, get a little serious now. Ramona Shelburne article talks about how he's frustrated that he was sent to the corner to shoot threes. And that's total BS, by the way. That's from his side. That's got to be his agent doing the talking there. Because the only person deciding to go to the corner and shoot threes is Jimmy Butler. He's the one who's pissed off. He's the one who wants out of Miami. He's the one that's sandbagging on the floor. So that was BS. But he goes out there.
Go ahead.
Scores 50, 45, classic Jimmy Butler game. And that, to me, feels like the logical outcome. If you're Miami and you want to get rid of him, and if you're Jimmy Butler and you want to go out and score 45 points and shut everybody up and increase your trade value. So that's kind of how I see it. If you're prognosticating the Jimmy Butler situation, I'll toss you some names. Which ones do you like the best? Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, or as my TOS transcription software says, Nicolette Jovovich, or Haywood Highsmith. Which of those four players do you like right now as either a potential add, or do you want to lean into for fantasy leagues?
Well, to me, Jaime Jaquez is like must roster, and Jovic is close. And I like what Khalil Ware's doing, and I like what Haywood Highsmith's doing, but I like the other two more. And Khalil Ware needs more minutes. What we need for Khalil Ware is for this whole thing to blow up, and they end up getting rid of Adebayo and just, starting from scratch next year, or they make a big trade. And Khalil Ware goes somewhere where he can play 20 minutes a night. It's sort of like Chris Boucher. Khalil Ware gets minutes. He's going to be awesome. But the other thing I love about Pat Riley and how they did this is they suspended Jimmy for 7 games, like the day they were leaving for a 7-game road trip. So they wouldn't have to talk to reporters or anybody about it for like 2 weeks. That was pretty cool. So now they're back in Miami. It's a big game tonight. Everybody's like,
they released the city uniforms tonight.
Like, what's gonna happen? And you could be right. Jimmy could go for 45. I could also see Jimmy playing 3 minutes and not doing anything. Like, I don't know. I'm not
like he goes on the court, he sandbags, and then Spo's like, nope, he's sandbagging. We're pulling the plug. Anything could happen. I really think that the way out for Jimmy is to score 45 points. If he scores 45 points tonight, you heard it here first. Khalil Ware, top 125 over the last 11 games in 18 minutes. So you're seeing some of the permanent pop that he can bring to the table there. Jaquez with some struggling peripherals, top 115 over the last 7 games. Jovic, top 75 in 28 minutes per game the last 7 games. That's definitely an outlier for his usual production curve, but maybe there's like 5 more green lights than he had in the past there. Highsmith, top 85 over the last 7 games. These guys are getting it done without Butler, but if he's back, all bets are off. And then the way I think Ware hits does, yeah. The way I think Ware hits is if this season really devolves and they just kind of want to hover around the 8, 9, 10 seed in the East, I think what will happen is Ware will get a consistent role where he gets 20 minutes a night, and then he also gets games off for Adebayo, or those are the big ones. But Jaime Jaquez, says Andre. I thought I got that right. Utah at New Orleans. New Orleans 11.5-point favorites, also in contention for the number 1 seed in the Tank Fest. When was the last time the worst team in the league? Almost. I don't know if I've got the record in front of me who the worst team in the league is, but when was the last time that they were an 11.5-point favorite against anybody? There's a thing to go track down. Utah, Lauri Markkanen out, Walker Kessler out, Micah Potter out. So all your bigs are out. Shout out Drew Eubanks. We got Keontae George in, Jordan Clarkson out. On the New Orleans side, Zion in, DeJounte Murray probable, Jose Alvarado in. And I believe that's it. Yes, that's it. What are you watching for in this one?
I mean, now I kind of want to run out and put $50 on the Jazz plus the points. That's insane. The Jazz are 7-14 on the road. The Pelicans are 6-16 at home. They both have 10 wins. CJ McCollum was playing like crap.
Well, Zion, anytime I've seen him on the floor, he looks terrible. Like, his body language is awful. He's made terrible plays in key moments. He looks like he wants out. There's no way that this New Orleans team is building around him. So you might be right, man. 11.5 points is a ton in an NBA basketball game. Yes, they are lacking NBA level players as far as the entire rotation goes, but you got Colin Sexton's been fairly reliable lately, both in fantasy and reality. Bryce Sensabaugh's missed a few games, but he's had a bunch of big ones in there. Isaiah Collier had a huge game the other day. He's been a top 100 guy over the last 3 games. I stashed Collier, pardon me. It's Collier.
Is that David Coulier's brother?
I didn't think we'd have a Dave Coulier reference. I didn't think we'd have a gelato reference in the show either, but what do I know? Collier, but he, I like Collier. He's an athletic dude. Shot, it's my one shot, and I airballed it. Airball, right?
Oh boy.
But Collier, he had a game winner in a game where he left at the late part of the game. I don't know how he got back in the game. I thought he had to shoot free throws. Nobody was even paying attention. The people calling the game weren't paying attention. He just showed up and he hit the game winner, a big 25, 6, and 7 night. So, I mean, he's had a big game or two lately. What are you looking for on the Utah side? Like, how are you going to capitalize upon these absences? Are you trying to get in on any of the action in Utah? Or are you just staying away?
I may have Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Bryce Sensabaugh, and Isaiah Collier in my DFS lineup. I may put
in your DFS lineup. In your DFS lineup,
money on all those guys
in your prop portfolio. But what about season-long fantasy leagues?
I am a Bryce Sensabaugh guy. Like, he's on a couple of my rosters, and Colin Sexton, until they shut him down, should be great. And Keontae George is tank proof. So Keontae George is right there with some of these other guys we talk about all the time, Scoot Anderson, Bub. Keontae George should be on this team's in this team's starting lineup till the end of the season, I would think. I think Keontae is good to go too. But I'm feeling sensible right now.
Yeah, Drew Eubanks top 130 over the last 3 games in 23 minutes per game, just under a double-double, 2 assists and 1.3 blocks. I really think in this game, if you're looking for just one game of value, Drew Eubanks has a decent shot of getting you there. But Collier is the one that's kind of popped up on my radar. I kind of wonder if they'll put him on the ball, move Keontae George off the ball a little bit. He's been on the ball for so long. He's like a full season of being on the ball and having terrible efficiency, almost like he needs a break and let another guy have some bad field goal percentage. But let the two of them operate down the stretch. Colin Sexton can come in there and form a 3-guard rotation, and then who knows what happens with the rest of the rotation. On the New Orleans side, anything there for you? Like, are you watching for anything at all? Are you anti-New Orleans?
I might watch this game if I load up on all those Jazz. I might.
You load up on the Jazz. You take Utah plus 11.5.
I would just like for CJ McCollum to not look like he sucks. He's been
I
bad.
mean, and he's been a guy that's been talked about at the trade deadline. Trey Murphy, a top 20 guy in the season, no slowing down. It really does look like he's taken the leap. I'm wondering about DeJounte Murray as a buy low guy. He's been top 45 over the last 3 weeks. And then I would offer a recommendation to hold Eve Misi through the trade deadline. I think it's going to be super messy for Misi. Didn't intend that. But that's with Zion coming in and out of the lineup and whatever they want to do with that situation. By the way, Brandon Ingram still plays for this team. They will probably be a very interesting team 3 weeks from now at the deadline, New Orleans. All right, let's get out of this game. We spent a little bit too long there. Charlotte at Chicago. Chicago -4.5. Brandon Miller questionable right wrist sprain. Mark Williams probable. On the Chicago side, Josh Giddey questionable. Talon Horton Tucker questionable left knee sprain. That's a right hip for Josh Giddey. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Lonzo Ball either probable or ruled in. And I feel pretty good about all three of those dudes. Where do you want to go in this game? What you watching for?
I just need Kobe White to play. That's all I really care about. Completely given up on Pat Williams. Let's how about we pull the plug on Pat and let Buzelis play? I'd like to see that happen. I don't think it's going to until later. But
there's like a good solid 20% of play types that Pat Williams is good at. The other 80% of basketball is really hard to watch.
Yeah,
it's tough. Are you a little bit surprised at Mark Williams going nuts?
A little bit. I mean, I feel like I probably owe him a personal apology for calling him a ghost and a myth and all that. He looks great, man. And this is the reason everybody was so excited about him.
It's shocking. Top 40 over the last 7 games, averaging 18 and 11. 77.5% from the foul line on 6 attempts per game. Not great, but it's a bunch of blocks. 67% from the field, top 65 value on the season in 9 cat leagues. I mean, finally he did it, and that's good for him. Now it's going to be bumpy the rest of the way. I don't know if they're going to just hit the throttle with him all the way to the end of the season. So if you got a chance to move him, you might want to consider that. But what a great start.
It's also a matter of time before they pull the plug on LaMelo. That means Vasilij Micic might be a silly season hero. If they pull the plug on Mark Williams, I don't know who's going to do anything. Maybe Diabate.
The internet told me that I needed to listen to LiAngelo's really surging rap song. It's pretty good. I'll just throw that out there. Yeah, he actually did it.
I see our good friends at NBC Universal signed Universal Music Group signed LiAngelo.
Oh, they did they?
Good luck. Good luck.
There's so many different ways I could go with that. In Chicago, I just feel like Kobe White, speaking of Kobe White, I feel like he's been great lately somehow, even though he's been a little dinged up, top 60 over the last 9 games. Still feels like there's buy low room there. I don't know why. The numbers don't support that, but I feel like there's buy low room there somehow.
There is. He's a chucker, and he's in and out of the lineup. And I've got him on 30 deep, and every time he misses a game, I'm like,
it feels like just that noise with the injury report and just the results are all kind of all over the board right now, and it's still full house in Chicago. It just feels like Kobe White has not been figured out by the public at large. Let's move it into Oklahoma City at Dallas. Oklahoma City comes off the back-to-back. They whooped up on Cleveland bad. That was interesting. Fun, even. Isaiah Hartenstein out. That's a bummer. He's probably got about a week. We'll find out if there's more on the other side of that. Here, Caruso doubtful. AJ Mitchell out for a long time. Right great toe sprain. Kyrie questionable. Derek Lively out with a right ankle sprain. It feels like the bigs in Dallas are going out with ankle sprains, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a bit," and then they come back within a week or so. What you got in this game?
Danny Gafford must roster, must start, must everything right now, as long as Lively's out. And then Lou Dort is kind of hot. I think he's a short-term grab him and see what happens guy, along with Cason Wallace, who's somehow sticking around in the starting lineup.
Yeah, a little bit of a boring game. I like I'm not 100% sold on this because Oklahoma City, I think they just wreck box scores. If you want to, if you're assessing your favorite player or whatever game that you're assessing, and it's against Oklahoma City, you almost have to just say it didn't happen. And they just did it to Cleveland and wiped them out. But that said, on the Dallas side, these guys have been bad lately, but the ones that you want to be good with players out, Najee Marshall, Spencer Dinwiddie, Daniel Gafford, have all been kind of getting it done over the last 3 games or so. So keep riding it there. Let's get to Memphis at San Antonio. Memphis -2. John Morant, questionable right foot soreness. Marcus Smart still out. On the San Antonio side, Jeremy Sohan out with a back injury. What you got here?
Come on, computer. Jalen Wells is under the radar and sort of not bad. I think he's 12 team. He's worth 12 team consideration. I don't have his numbers pulled up in front of me, but he's been pretty solid. I put him in the work in the wire column for Sports Ethos this week. His rostership is in he's not owned hardly anywhere, but he's putting up numbers. I kind of like Jalen Wells.
I mean, he's shown a lot. Like defensively, he hangs in there. Obviously, can shoot and score. He's doing it on a team that's got a lot of players that are supposed to be doing things. So he's survived in a really interesting context. I'm pretty excited for his start, and he's also out of Sacramento here, so that's fun. Santi
He's probably
Aldama
on waiver wires right now because his last game was garbage. 1 of 7, 5 points, nothing else. But before that, man, he was playing well. So,
and if he fits your build, that makes it even better. Santi Aldama went for 20 and 10. And I don't know why he was on waiver wires, but he was top 80-ish, top 90-ish on the season. And that's just really hard to find out there. It's kind of the same thing with Royce O'Neal, who we'll probably talk about at some point today. It's like if somebody's top 80 or top 90, and especially in a lower minutes per game, and their role is legit, then I don't understand why that's you're going to give your opposition that kind of ammo. Maybe your team is just that good, but just make sure he wasn't dropped if he's out there. And then Victor Wembanyama, now the top fantasy play over the last 2 months and or 20 games, whichever way you want to look at that. That's just noteworthy, I guess. Finally has passed
like 200,000 votes behind Anthony Davis. So right now, Davis is locked in as a starter, I believe. But Wemby, is it Davis that's locked in?
Wemby Mania hasn't really hit yet, and that's a little surprising. Not surprising because of the San Antonio piece of it, but that's going to hit. And when it hits, it's going to hit hard. And he's probably going to have to get into like the conference finals for it to truly hit. But that's what's coming. And it's probably next year, if I had to guess, is a Wembanyama team is going to go far into the playoffs. Devin Vassell, 2-game stretch with top 50 numbers. Are you going to buy or are you going to watch?
I'm buying. I love Vassell. And,
all right.
Stephon Castle, 26 and 23 in his last 2 games, 33 plus minutes. He's kind of hot. He keeps it going tonight because I don't think anybody on Dallas can stop him. Or no, they're playing Memphis.
If a switch flips with him, it could be fun down the stretch.
But he still stays hot. Like I like Castle a lot.
Yeah, if the switch flips and the refs start calling fouls in his favor and he really figures it out, that could be fun. Brooklyn at the Lakers. Lakers 11-point favorites here. D'Angelo Russell will play. Ben Simmons will play. Cam Johnson is questionable. Interesting, D'Angelo Russell returning to L.A. How will that go? Will L.A. sell out to keep him from scoring? You have that kind of bandwidth in a game like this. Brooklyn coming off a 732-point loss to the Clippers the other night. It was fascinating. I'd never seen an NBA team get doubled up ever, I don't think. And that's all I was watching for. It was the most fascinating thing in the world. They almost pulled it off. The Clippers did. And as for Brooklyn, Cam Thomas may be returning soon. there's a laundry list of guys that we can talk about, but what are you watching out with Brooklyn these days?
Keon Johnson, super intrigued, and of course he's playing well because both Cams are out, Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson. He's got a couple 20-point games recently, um, shooting and hitting threes, good steals numbers. He really does a little bit of everything except blocks, and he's not going to kill you anywhere except his field goal percentage is dicey, 37% in January. But I'm kind of feeling Keon right now.
I'm stashing Keon in a bunch of places. Zaire Williams, top 120 over the last 8 games and 25 minutes per game. Some injury concerns there. I like Keon maybe the best. I think Zaire's got the better numbers, but I think I like Keon the best because I think he'll play the rest of the way. They have no reason to sit him. He's not going to win games for them. He's super explosive. He's going to just kind of get to his spots. He's going to get his numbers in the midst of this chaos. Tosin Evmamon. I know that ain't right. He's the other one that I think in Brooklyn. I don't know if he'll get enough defensive stats to have the value, but he can score, and they like him there. And then Day'Ron Sharpe.
I think it's Noah Clowney down the stretch.
That's supposed to be the guy, but I think it's Tosin Evmamon. Everybody, that's who I'll take. And then Sharpe, he was the only player to show up in that last game, so maybe they'll toss him a bone in this game here tonight. Max Christie, top 90 guy, you buying? Top 90 over the last month.
Yep, I'm in.
You're in? Okay.
Rick and I talked about him the other night. Getting 35 minutes a night. He's scoring in double digits.
And they've liked him for a while.
LeBron might finally not be mad at him anymore for the horrible inbounds pass he threw like 2 weeks ago to lose the game for the Lakers. LeBron was like, doing LeBron stuff. But I think we've moved on from that, and I like Max Christie.
They've liked him for a while. I know they would love to get a win in the Max Christie department. So it's not pretty because it's a lot percentages driven. It's a little bit quieter numbers for Max Christie, but he's starting and he's getting you numbers in a 9-cat league that works out. Okay.
And he's ruining Dalton Connect.
And he's ruining Dalton Connect, which is, I guess, great. Let's see. Before we get into the weekend action here, quickly, we just want to let you guys know we truly do appreciate your support. Want to let you guys know here about the vision. We want to just keep adding value for our subscribers, also our listeners and followers online. We want everybody to win, but mostly we want to continue creating opportunities to employ more people within the industry so we can continue to build this industry out in a way that's sustainable for everybody. So if you guys want to support that, it's easy. Go to sportsethos.com, check us out, consider subscribing. Other than that, we have a free app that is the greatest thing on planet Earth. So go check that out in the Google Play or the Apple iPhone App Store. Yes, I got that right. All right, let's get to the weekend action here. We've got Phoenix at Detroit. Bradley Beal, questionable left ankle sprain. Nick Richards, probable to play. Nurk, probably out of the rotation. For Detroit, everybody is basically in and active. What are you watching for? How excited are you about Nick Richards?
Moderately. I think they traded for him to have him start. I think Mason Plumlee is going bye-bye. And I think Nick Richards could go off. And, if you look at his game log from when he was with Charlotte, man, he was blocking so many shots early in the season. If they put him in there and let it rip, he could be pretty good. And I don't know how much offense he's going to be able to produce with Durant and Booker and maybe Brad Beal. But he's at least going to block shots and get rebounds. I'm excited about Nick Richards, actually.
I'm curious what's going to happen with Bradley Beal. Like, let's say they can't get Jimmy Butler because Bradley Beal doesn't want that to happen. Like, does that rot this team kind of, from the bottom? Beal's a gamer. Like, I don't think he's going to stop playing hard or anything like that. But so much drama, and this team is, it's top heavy with stars. You got Kevin Durant, sort of an entity of himself. Booker's been there forever. It feels like he's going to be there forever. Um, I don't know. Like on one hand, you could say, all right, Nick Richards joins a pretty dynamic team that, with Durant's a pretty good defender. Booker doesn't ever really get any, like good pub for his defense, and he's not like a great defender, but at least he'll play hard and he's strong. Tyus Jones, not a great defender, but at least he'll play hard. Maybe a Nick Richards that gets told, hey, go cut loose and go for some blocks. Like maybe he could, be the guy we saw early in this season. What are you doing with that, though? I mean, he's been picked up in all of your leagues, right? If he's available, do you just run, don't walk to pick him up, or is he a shade lower than that?
Nick Richards?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about trying to talk about this season-long fantasy every single day. Like half the guys you talk about are not available in any leagues ever. So it's all buy low, sell high jargon and whatnot. Look, I need to see it first. We all know it's supposed to happen, right? On paper. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen. If he plays well against Detroit on Saturday and things go the way we think they're gonna go, then yes, I would call him a must-have guy.
One thing that I think is interesting with this squad is Yusuf Nurkic could really be hurting them bad. And then obviously Mason Plumlee's doing an even worse job. And then Isogadoro, you're playing a small rookie, like that's not a solution. I wonder if Richards is ready for, to be like a top 30 center in the NBA, and that alone, because he's not like a top 60 guy, like Yusuf Nurkic is probably these days, maybe a top 45, top 60 guy that can't keep up defensively. He's getting exposed all the time. He's playing banged up. Iguodaro, thank you very much, Andre. I just wonder if he's good enough. Could he unlock Phoenix? And if he does that, can he get the steals and blocks that he needs to be valuable? I guess he will be a must roster player until he shows he's not. Maybe you can get in there and buy aggressively on Nick Richards. And if you want to target Nick Richards as a top 100 player going forward, that's probably about as high as I will go. What you got elsewhere? You got any spicy hot Detroit takes? Or are you just watching them win like everybody else?
I have two things. Yves Missi has been ruled out for Friday, FYI. That's New Orleans. And then I'm tired of waiting for Sarah Thompson, right? Like for a month now, we've been like, Jaden Ivey got hurt, so Sarah Thompson's gonna take off, baby. Here it comes. It's just not happening. I'm sick of waiting, dude. I'm barely hanging on.
Yeah, it's like the gameplay is not there. I mean, he's great in certain scenarios. You can see the upside, you can see the physicality. Results on the floor maybe might be the reason that he's not getting the big minutes that everybody wants him to get. Maybe it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. More minutes will lead to more experience, will lead to better play. But right now they're winning and they don't want to mess with that. They're very much trying to climb the ranks in the playoff chase. My 52-1 bet on JB Bickerstaff. Well, Bickerstaff is now, I believe, the third best odds to win Coach of the Year. So just a little tiny bit excited over here about that. Asar, top 135 over the last 8 games in 21 minutes per game. So you can see the per minute potentials there, but the numbers on the whole have not been there. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's shooting well in Detroit, and that's my fear for the aforementioned Coach of the Year award. I'm waiting for all of these guys to regress. Jalen Duren's a top 65 guy over the last 10 games, shooting 70% from the field and the line. Tobias Harris, top 65. And then before we get out of this game, you do have some interesting role players. Royce O'Neal just getting back up to speed. If he's available on your waiver wire, I would go out and grab him. Grayson Allen, I kind of faded him a little bit after the left knee soreness, but he's been a top 75 guy over the last 8 games, basically making anything he shoots right now. And Ryan Dunn, top 110 value over the last 11 games in 9 cat leagues. Let's get to the Atlanta at Boston game. We've already covered Boston, or sort of. Atlanta, Jalen Johnson, questionable right shoulder. DeAndre Hunter, questionable left foot. Zach Reese-Shea, questionable Trae Young probable. Anything in Atlanta catching your eye right now?
This
The
right
Frisbee?
here, my new
What is that?
my new
Look at
Dyson
that.
Daniels jersey.
Which jersey version is that? Is that the city version or is that the
that's city?
It's interesting.
It's sweet.
I like that one.
Vic Krejci. If Trae Young's out, Vic Krejci is a thing. And with all these injuries, Jalen and Risa Shea and Hunter, Krejci's been a thing. I kind of like him. I kind of like rolling the dice on him right now. And then that Keaton Wallace 27-point explosion the other night was something else. And of course, you don't need to do anything with that, but just keep.
He's done it a couple times though.
In the back of your mind.
Yeah, he's done it a couple times, and Krejci's actually been valuable for a bit now, like 3 or 4 weeks. He's been holding value.
Yeah.
Okongwu top 60 over the last 8 games, averaging a double-double, 3 assists and 2 defensive stats per game over the last 8 games. That's been nice coming off of some time off with his various injuries. And then actually in 30 deep, I don't know if you noticed, I added Daquan Plowden. He jumped into the game and he hit like 5 3-pointers the other day. I'm pretty sure he's a 2-way contract, and he's been playing in the G League.
You're not going to believe this, but I somehow missed that.
You missed that?
I didn't know you did that.
Well, that's why I'm going to take the 30 deep title this year.
Usually I just sit. Why I'm not sleeping at night, which I really don't, and I just stare at the waiver process in 30 deep and just track it. That's what I do in my.
Somebody's been sitting on Keaton Wallace all season, and that's been bugging me. You know what's also bugging everybody in Philadelphia and me is Joel Embiid is out 7 to 10 days. They're taking on Indy this weekend.
Bro, I have a serious question for you about Joel Embiid.
Yes, but yeah, by all means.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Very ready.
We all know that the fluid in his knee is gelato. Is it melted gelato or is it frozen? It like where is the problem with the Italian ice cream that holds his knee together?
Yeah, I don't know. It's giving me a bitter taste right now.
Joel Embiid. Like Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid are making people hate the NBA. And Luka's not helping either, but Luka at least we know what his injury is. As soon as he got it, we're like, all right, that dude's going to miss a month. What is Embiid? I'm like, where? I mean, everything that people think is wrong with the NBA sums up Joel Embiid.
My thing is this. If he's that hurt, right? Where is the effort to lose weight? Like, if it's that bad, why are you not? I mean, we've seen players do this. Rudy Gobert a couple of years ago, like he basically, lost 15 pounds when he got shipped over to Minnesota, and he knew that he was going to have to play next to Karl Anthony Towns. He had the knee issues, and then he was moving around great and had a great defense, and then they were very good. Joel Embiid is still very heavy, and now it's rolling downhill the wrong way. The counter to this is that it's the East, and these guys can. I mean, I don't think they want to be in the play-in, but you almost have to just kind of throw your hands up and say, all right, well, if we're playing this playoff or bust game, the play-in's fine. If we can't win a playoff game, we don't deserve to win anything. So maybe they don't care. Maybe they're just being super, 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 super cautious. But I think the reality of it is kind of what the Athletic was intimating earlier in the season, which is that he's really freaking hurt. Like he's done. He's done. And that's the that's the issue here. Yeah. That's all I got there. Caleb Martin doubtful, Kyle Lowry and Andre Drummond doubtful. Oubre a top 60 guy over the last 8 games. Paul George top 48 over the last 9 games. Would you buy low on Paul George right now with all this going on?
No, I want
No.
no part of that guy. He's Joel Embiid Jr. Um, what are you doing with Yabu? For a minute there, it looked like, oh, Embiid's out. You automatically play Yabu. But now Yabu's sort of not doing what he was doing.
I don't know. Maybe the whoever's preparing the meals in Philly needs to get on it, because Yabu, it felt like in the Olympics, was much more athletic and lighter than he is in Philadelphia. He's very, very heavy, and he's just getting roasted out there defensively. And hey, when Gelato Knee is trending on Twitter, this Philadelphia squad is terrible to talk about. They really are. It's just sad, like the fact that so much tanking went into this result. It's just kind of pathetic.
You know how
Let's get
bad
out
things
of it.
are? Eric Gordon is starting for my 30 deep team and actually doing stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
never thought that would happen.
Talking about them, it kind of ruined my morning. Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton returned from his hamstring injury, top 9 over the last 10 games.
9.
So how do you square all of that? Does the recurrence of a hamstring injury? Do you feel like that maybe this is them playing it super safe, and it was a good thing that they did it, and this is good for his long-term health, and everybody should kind of just like lean into this? Or is this more of a, hey, we've already been through this once? Tyrese Halliburton could, possibly get hurt, and you should maybe try to make a move while it's not so bad.
Well, the last time they brought him back too soon. So I think keeping him out and letting him get healthy was the right move. The Pacers are balling too, dude. Like, if you look at, like, they're winning games and they're 23-19. They're
Aaron Nesmith back.
Yeah, they're playing well. Benedict Mathurin back from his suspension Saturday.
Halliburton's been
Miles
fine
Turner
in
at 8.
fantasy leagues, just to kind of throw that out there. He's been fine this season, and one of the
Yes.
more maligned players early on. And it's just another reminder that the first month of fantasy and the NBA coverage in general is always hilarious. It's never going to end the way that it starts. And that's so far the case for Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. Let's move into Washington at Golden State. Washington showcasing Kyle Kuzma. I don't think that's having the desired effect. Unless you're the Kings, and you're kind of embarrassing enough to have your name associated with that. But I'm just saying. They take on Golden State. Draymond Green's questionable. Kyle Anderson's questionable. Brandon Pajemski might be returning soon. Kuminga feels like he's back within about 2 weeks. The reports have been good on his return. What are you watching for in this one?
I'd like to see Bub Carrington do something, man. I've been talking about him all year. He's getting 35 minutes a night. There's no reason he should not be producing, but he's not. It's just been rough. And then we need to get Kyle Kuzma out of there so that Justin Champagnie can go back to doing his thing. And shout out Keyshawn George, had like 25 last night, I think.
He's the one I want to see
Thursday.
do well. Let me ask you this: do you know who the second best per game player is for the Wizards this season in fantasy leagues? Just flat out.
I do not, because I never look at per game stats. I don't know if you could tell that about me, Bru.
I had no idea.
I suck at it. I'm better. I'm better at saying that somebody has ice cream in their knee than I am looking at per game stats.
I don't know if you're that good at the first one. I don't know if you're that good at the first one.
Terrible at it.
Yeah, that's actually what I was saying. It's Justin Champagnie, top 115 value in 22.5 minutes per game. And in this last game, in 10 minutes, he got you 2 steals and 2 triples with 10 points in 10 minutes. This dude's like a stat factory. And it's Kyle Kuzma's fault. You know what? And Kyle Kuzma, he's done this before. He ruined Jalen Johnson's season last year. I can't believe the Sacramento Kings are like actually credibly tied to, trade rumors to try to acquire this guy. It's absolutely phenomenal that that's a thing that passed by my desk the other day and passed by other people's desks. What they're doing? What the hell? Anyway, Golden State.
Kyle Kuzma. I'd like to see Kyle Kuzma
in the Big Three.
Harry Barnes in San Antonio.
That is weird enough to work. I don't know. Buddy Hield, top 75 over the last 3 games. Trace Jackson Davis, just top 200 over the last 3 games. Dennis Schroeder not getting it done. Anything else to add before we get out of that game?
I just have no idea what's going on with Golden State. I have no idea who to. No, nothing else to add. Dennis Schroeder, get it going, bro.
I don't think it's going to happen. Cleveland at Minnesota. So it sucks to be Minnesota after Cleveland gets throttled by OKC. And now Cleveland's going to come into Minnesota and probably just whomp them. I know there's talk about Donovan Mitchell, kind of a buy low guy. I guess that's the story. I don't have anything in this game. Do you have anything that you would like to talk about with Cleveland?
I imagine Evan Mobley's going to come back with a vengeance. He did nothing in that last game. And we've seen all year that guys get up for playing against Rudy Gobert. So I have a feeling Mobley's going to go after a Rudy poster tonight.
You know, just to balance things out, Julius Randle is getting benched down the stretch in the fourth quarter, and maybe they're figuring things out in Minnesota. I don't know what would be worse for a team to do, to trade for Kyle Kuzma or to trade for Julius Randle. I don't know. Let's get to Houston at Portland. Fred VanVleet, questionable personal issues, and then all sorts of fun stuff going on in Houston. But quickly on the injury front, Jeremy Grant, questionable. Denny Avdia, questionable. Donovan Clingan out. They're calling it an ankle injury. I don't know if I'm buying that, by the way. So in the game that he went down, he was falling on the ground all sorts of times. People were diving at his legs, but he's got this big, bulky knee brace on. And then when he went down, it looked like his knee was impacted, but they're calling it an ankle. What are you doing with Portland, I guess, in general these days?
I'm all about the buy Scoot Henderson at all costs.
Man, you are the Scoot guy.
Huge game 2 games ago. Had huge game 2 games ago. A solid game in the next one. It's like 16-6. We saw what he did last year in February, March, and April when he just went off. I think he averaged 19, 20, and 10 in April. But March and February were also very good. The silly season hero of last year is going to do it again this year. He's going to win that award. The Dr. A silly season memorial trophy will be presented to Scoot. I think he should be picked up in every league imaginable. And then with Tari Eason back, I expect Cam Whitmore to start fading away.
Yeah. I mean, if you picked him up, he had a nice little schedule here in the first half of this week, 3 games in 4 days. That's been very nice. But what about like Amen Thompson and Jalen Green? Jalen Green's been a top 6 or 7 guy over the last 3 weeks or so. I mean, it's easy to call him a sell high guy, but do you think anything about the dynamic in Houston has shifted? Alperen Şengün's been kind of hovering around the top 100 lately. Efficiency numbers are largely driving that. But when you see Jalen Green getting these massive numbers and being the guy, and then Amen Thompson's running around, he's been a top 24 guy over the last 2-3 weeks, just dominant and looking like he's just scratching the surface. How do you project this Houston squad going forward?
I don't really think it has anything to do with pecking order. Like, I know you were talking about team dynamics and where does Jalen Green fit and is he going to be the man? I mean, the way he started off the season, the way he's playing now, I mean, he's clearly still that guy. And they're better with Jalen Green. The difference is he's shooting like 53% from the floor in January. And the other months, he was shooting like 35, 40. And that's all it takes. If your shots go in, you look a lot better. And I think that's what it is. Amen Thompson. I don't think you can squeeze the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, Amen Thompson has been unleashed, and Dylan Brooks, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, none of those guys are going to be able to slow him down.
I'm going to speed us past the Clippers because Kawhi Leonard's just kind of getting back into the rhythm, and we kind of know what's up with that squad. The only team we haven't talked about, Sacramento, Keon Ellis, doubtful with an ankle issue. I don't know that he plays in the next one. He was smiling in the locker room after the game. He's a young guy. He'll bounce back. Maybe he misses a game or 2. I don't know that it changes the equation there much. they're playing him 20 base minutes per game. It's the same stuff with Mike Brown as it is with Doug Christie. No change there. It tells me it's all front office driven why he's not playing. Obviously, everybody in the building knows that he's that good. It's just the politics involved holding him back. But did you have any other Sacramento takes that you needed to get off your chest before we get out of here?
Free Keon.
Thank you. And then I got a buy low on Keegan Murray, top 40 over the last 6 games, top 100 on the season. The snap on his shot looks great. So that is going to do it here, folks. Thank you guys for all of the feedback. The feedback's been wonderful. You guys are helping us build this thing out. And so if you have feedback, send it to either support@sportsethos.com, send it to roster singular at sportsethos.com, whatever you can remember. Shoot us a thing on Twitter. It doesn't matter. We just want to build this platform out the right way. You guys have given us some super great feedback lately. And so we thank you for that. Make sure you subscribe to all of our stuff. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Sports Ethos, at Ethos Fantasy NBA. Go download the app. It is literally the greatest thing in the world when I'm running around doing all of the kiddo stuff and trying to stay on top of all the action. Having the app and just the straight news, as they say, that's been a game changer for me. It's free. So go check that out on Google Play and the App Store. Thank you, Andre, for another great show. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.